Good morning, everybody. Welcome on this St. Patrick's Day. How are you? Good morning, good morning. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, everyone. Hello, hello. How are you? Good morning, good morning. Good morning, Bob Guinan. Good to see you. Welcome. I hope the day is treating you well. Good morning, John. How are you on this St. Patrick's Day? So glad you're here, friends. So glad. Good morning. Good morning. How is everyone? Good morning, Donna. Glad that glad you're here. Hope you're having a good day. You can eat some corned beef. Who's eating corned beef and cabbage today? I hope you are. I don't know. I think it's a New England thing, right? Like that's a New England thing. Did I get that right? That um, for the celebration of St. Patrick's Day. I think it is, but um, I hope that you are rejoicing in this day, that you're finding a bit of green in your journeys. Good morning, Jackie Donovan. Hope you're well. Hope things are going good for you. That hope that all is well. Yeah, spoiled dinner generally the New England thing, right? Yeah, like I always grew up with it. It was always a tradition in our house. We were about as far away from church as you could get. But St. Patrick's Day rolled around and we would have a New England boiled dinner. And my mom being my mom, like she was always just, she being a chareste and a good, good French Catholic upbringing. New England boiled dinner wasn't really in their lexicon. They were more crepes people, and so, but we would have one, at least a couple times a year, but particularly around St. Patrick's Day, and you know, and that like I watched people have made them sense, and there's always this kind of way in which you cook the potatoes for a certain amount of time, and then you add some of the onions, and then you add the cabbage, and then you cook the corned beef separate, and then you kind of keep and so it's this way you have this all these things timed out, and it's like this little dance that's happening on the stovetop. And my mother, it all went in a pot and it went on high and it boiled. I mean, it literally just sat there like for like had till it started about noon, and we'd eat it that night, and it was everything was some level of mush. And it was I remember like that's what I always thought it was. It was like till I had somebody else's once, and I was like, why are all these things different colors? Like, why do they differentiate from each other? And I never understood. So yeah, so that's Anyway, that's my New England boiled dinner story. So and the culinary delights of growing up in my family. Good morning, Sherry lad. Hey, Vicky, glad you are here. Oh, definitely. Corned beef and cabbage, very good, excellent, outstanding. I hope yours is better than my mom's. Like, God love her. I mean, it was, but that was just how we did it. Good morning, Fannie Faye Davis. Hello, hello. Big day for you. Fannie Faye is starting a new program that she is a spiritual direction program. So we are excited to send her on her way today. So I hope she, on this auspicious feast day, knows that our blessings go with her. Good morning, Sharon Landry. Glad you are here. So good to see you. I started eating corned beef and cabbage yesterday. Excellent. I like that because I could do that too. Like I could eat on it for a week. I love it. Like and it just gets better. My sister has furnace problems. She's saying, "Oh, good." I'm sorry she's had furnace problems, but I'm glad she's with you. Like, that's a nice treat. Yes, we eat boiled dinner with smoked shoulder on Sundays. Oh, very nice. Probably a few times a year. Yeah, cornbread, soda bread, man. Oh, I love soda bread. Love it. Corned beef hash. Yes, exactly. Like then make the little hashy hash thing out of it. Yum 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 yum. Does everyone need prayers for strength? Yes, Vicky, you've been caring a lot for your sister. I really do hope we will offer prayers for you that you are able to care for her well in these days. Yes, yes, that is one of the best things about the boiled dinner is just the continued feasting that goes on with it. All right, good morning, everybody. We'll get going. Sorry, apparently I'm hungry. I don't know. I'm born that way. Who are we kidding? Good morning. It is the 17th day of March. This Wednesday. It is St. Patrick's Day. And so I want to offer you, I have a few blessings. There are a few that are attributed to Patrick. And then we'll get on what we're going to get on about. But I want to offer you, I have an opening and closing blessing today. So this is and they're both from the breastplate of St. Patrick, which is this, that the idea that he wore this breastplate and these words were inscribed upon it, whether that actually happened or not. But it is these tomes that are attributed to him and the prayers that he would that the idea that he would carry these blessings with him everywhere he went, even into conflict, even into battle. And so he offers. So I offer you this opening blessing this morning. May you be blessed with the strength of heaven, the light of the sun and the radiance of the moon, the splendor of fire, the speed of lightning, the swiftness of wind, the depth of the sea, and the stability of earth and the firmness of rock. One of the things I love about St. Patrick and is not just the excuse to eat corned beef and cabbage, but it is that I think in many ways he's the most, for me, one of the most relatable of saints, even though he was nearly 1600-ish, 1500-ish, who knows, that there's questions about that, but somewhere around the 4th or 5th century in the Roman Empire, he was this wildly imperfect guy. He stumbles through his ministry with mistake after mistake after mistake, and yet the mistakes are only superseded by the amount of grace that he then carries with him. That there's these ways in which that he continues to journey, and just that the great mantra in many ways of Patrick is that he just keeps going. He's kind of the Dory of saints, just keep swimming. I mean, Patrick, and it's not flippant in any ways. It is simply this journeying of relentless conviction that he goes forward with. And there's so many beautiful stories, and some of them are captured in this book, which I want to share with you. And I just want to share it, and I want to start off just talking about the author a little bit. Now, you would be correct in saying this is a children's book, but it is also not a children's book. And it's one of the great things about these books by Tomie dePaulo. And I want to start our talk actually about Tomie dePaulo rather than Patrick, because there's something really lovely. So he died last year, actually, beginning of March last year. So just about a year ago, he died. He wrote in the course of his lifetime. He was mostly a teacher of art and writing, but he wrote over 270 books, many of them children's books, some of them not, but and he's known for these illustrated books, which are just terrific. The beauty of these books are just outstanding in their in what they offer and the way they tell the story. And so I want to start because I think I want to read this because I feel like it captures so many people's relationship to St. Patrick's Day in a way. Uh, I'm not John Wells. I'm not sure if it's a Woolwich thing or a French Catholic thing, but it's our way in a house just to, yeah, man, like just boil everything into a mild sludge, and then it's delicious, right? Whew. So he writes this. This is the dedication he writes to this little book about Patrick, and we'll spend a little bit of time with it just so you can see it. But I encourage you so much if you know if that to explore if you're connected with kids, even if you're not connected with kids. The storytelling in these and the art are really terrific and transcendent, and they're way more they are adult worthy, if you want to put it that way. Whatever. I think they're wasted. Some of it is almost wasted on kids. Like, well, can you do that? That's probably a wrong way to put it, but you know what I'm saying. There's much to appreciate in them. So anyway, these are Tomie dePaulo's words about why he wrote this book. I first became aware of St. Patrick, the great patron saint of the Irish, when I was a young child. My older brother Joe and I spent Saturday night with my Irish parents, Tom and Alice Downey, in Wallingford, Connecticut, because my grandfather opened his grocery store for several hours on Sunday mornings for the customers who had forgotten things. My brother and I went with him to First Mass at Holy Trinity Church. We walked into the dark church and sat up front in the grandfather's regular pew. On the side altar in front of us were a very colorful statue of a saint holding a staff in one hand, a shamrock in the other, and at his feet, squirming and squiggling into the plaster water, were green snakes. That's St. Patrick, my grandfather said. He's Irish, just like us. I immediately forgot I was half Italian. Every year after that, I celebrated St. Patrick's Day with gusto, decorating my room with shamrocks. My brother took Patrick for his confirmation name. My Italian father celebrated too, claiming Patrick was from Italy. My Irish mother, Flossie Downey dePaulo, has been after me for years to remember the Irish patron saint with a book, and so here it is. And as the Irish shout on March 17th, Erin go bragh, Ireland forever. There is something right about Ireland forever. That in this, so this is a beautiful little tome. I know I'm not usually in the business of that, but of offering these, but and I'll show you some of it in a minute when we get to the story I want to pick out. But the beauty of this is, I think he captured in his little dedication, is that I immediately forgot I was half Irish, I was half Italian, and embraced this journeying with Patrick. And I think this is the power of it, of the continued journey. It's not just foam hats and green beer. I have nothing against foam hats and green beer, and I'm not, and it's not just this veneration of saints that we find in the Catholic tradition. We Congregationalists, not much with the veneration of saints. Everybody gets some. We're all a part of it. But here we are in, Patrick and of Patrick's ministry is that the world was falling apart. I mean, imagine one day. I mean, this as a son kind of a rich guy, of a everybody in the fire department goes away. Everybody on the police department goes away. The town records are just abandoned, and there are no clerks. There's nobody there to file a deed. There's nobody there. All the judges go away. And all the people who work on the sewer lines, all the people who keep the power running, all of that sort of stuff. They just stop being paid, and so the entire infrastructure, particularly true again in England at the end of the Roman Empire, just collapses. It's gone. And people, the same number of people still there who now have to figure out how to fend and how to be. And that in the midst of this time, you've got this Patrick character that comes along. And not only kind of does his thing in England for a little while, but then receives his call to go back to Ireland and chase the snakes out of Ireland. Now, what does that mean? Chasing the snakes out of Ireland was the code word for the pagan gods and the pagan movement. Now, we can say, oh, what was wrong with the Druids and the pagans? They were nice. They just liked to hug the trees, and they, danced around fires. And I like fires, and they're nice. The amount of blood sacrifice, like of people, infants, prisoners of war, people in your household, your child, if you really wanted something from the gods, you would take your child and throw them on the pyre and burn them as a dedication to God. That sounds pretty sneaky to me. When we talk about the chasing the snakes from Ireland and that colorful little statue with those green snakes bouncing around in the plaster water, that's the symbol. And Patrick, again, this wildly imperfect guy, not the smartest tool in the shed. He was in many ways sent to England or sent to Ireland because he was really not fit to run anything in England. The kind of the bosses saw him that. Now there's so much story and so much that's built up around him that it's so fun. It's so fun because this wildly imperfect character now gets these incredible stories to tell. I mean, isn't that true of life? Like, isn't that true of how our lives work out? That the best stories usually start with you kind of stepping in it in some ways, something not ideal happening, and yet there's this grace in which that you are turned from them. There's so many, in this little book that he talks about that. So sorry. So this is some of the beautiful illustrations around this, but St. Patrick and the Snakes. I'm trying to get this so that you can see it. Some people say that there are no snakes in Ireland because Patrick drove them out, just as he had driven out our sin. Patrick got rid of the snakes by beating a drum hard and fast. The snakes couldn't stand the noise, and so they slithered into the sea. That story of that beating the drum hard is the story of Patrick proclaiming the gospel. Like, that's a little code word for the proclamation of the gospel. That he just keeps beating the drum. He just keeps going when he has no business keeping going. That there's my favorite story of Patrick's is this that I'll share with you, and some of you may have heard it before, but Patrick finally he comes ashore in Sláinte River in Northern Ireland. So in Northern Ireland, up by Downpatrick, he starts his first little church there, and he goes and he finally meets a chieftain that he is interested in being baptized. That he finally somebody that has begun to come to know Christ. And so in this, so he says he's going to baptize them, but he has just in that little plasters thing, he has the staff, and but he doesn't really know the rite that well, so he has this book, but it's this big kind of gormy book, and if you've ever seen kind of bishops do their thing, they usually have somebody holding the book for him. Like, he didn't have that. He was just a guy that showed up, and so he's trying to balance the book and the staff at the same time, and he ends up taking he takes the staff and he drives it into the ground, and then he can hold the book and conduct the baptismal rite properly. However, what he didn't know was that he drives the staff through the foot of the chieftain he is about to baptize. Oopsie. That he has this moment where, like, but however, the thing is, the chieftain, being a pagan, didn't really know that this wasn't part of what it meant to be baptized. And being a warrior chief, you can't really show weakness, so he simply winces, and they go on with the baptism. So Patrick baptizes him in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, and then rises him up and notices that there in his foot is Patrick's staff. And he pulls the staff, and he reaches down and heals the man in miracle. And this is what I hope you will know. I hope you'll take from our kind of little journey with Patrick today, that he not only has inspired great art, he's not only told this great story, he not only was really responsible for the preservation of Christianity in the northern Celtic way, and that he becomes and is and was this guy who just kept beating the drum. He just kept telling the story of the good news. He just kept at it. And that in beating and in all of his imperfection, in all of his brokenness, in all of his imperfection, his great quote, he says, "I am Patrick, a sinner, most uncultivated and least of all the faithful, and despised in the eyes of many." He makes this declaration, and yet, and he's not necessarily wrong, but he comes again and again and again to beat the drum, and as he beats the drum, grace flows forward. On this St. Patrick's Day, friends, as you maybe get some corned beef and cabbage, if you do a boiled dinner, whatever traditions you keep, as you wear your green, as you take that whatever other half it is that you feel like you are, but rally in your Irishness, whatever all that is. My hope is that you will take the cue from Patrick, and that you will continue to beat the drum of your life, that you will continue to beat the drum of the gospel in your world, that you will continue to beat the drum of hope and of grace and of healing and of life over death. You see, this is when we talk about the conquering of the snakes and driving out of the snakes, what we are talking about truly, like in practical terms. I'm not talking about in theological terms. I'm talking about in practical terms. What happens in the island of Ireland is that death is defeated. The death cult of the sacrifice of children and people and animals and all these other things stops. and the love of Christ begins to bind together not only people and tribes, but all of the clans, and would lead later to even the great Brian Boru that would unify all of Ireland and stop the wars between the clans. And in the midst of that, all of it came from one kind of dumb, kind of imperfect, kind of clumsy, kind of inarticulate, faithful guy who simply would not stop beating his drum. Friends, I hope you'll beat your drum. You'll beat it loud, that you will enjoy the fruits of this day and the celebration of feasting, because it is a day for feasting. It is a day that we remember, and its depths of depths, that life overcomes death. When we live into the great promises of going into the world and preaching the gospel for every creature, as St. Mark tells us. All right, friends, that's my hope for you for St. Patrick's Day. I'm so glad you're here. I so hope you have a great day. Peace and grace to you all.